I never thought I'd see the day. The Thrustmaster T818 has arrived. This is the Ferrari SF1000 model. I am a Thrustmaster fanboy at heart. Really fond of my TSXW. That was my last steering wheel before I went direct drive. Let's see if they've carried their legacy into direct drive. Let's do this. This is one of the best looking boxes in sim racing, I think. If you're a Ferrari fan, that is. I guess if you're not a Ferrari fan, this may not appeal to you. So I often wonder about these specifically branded devices, if it's actually a help or a hindrance, maybe to people who are not really into motorsport but want to drive on their PC. It really, you know, something like the brand of Ferrari really kind of appeals to them. But if you're already a diehard motorsports fan, like let's say you're a Mercedes fan in Formula 1, do you really want to be driving with this? Does this automatically exclude everyone who doesn't like Ferrari? I don't know, that's for you to decide, but that's just always something. Like, it's a little bit less with a steering wheel, proprietary steering wheel, but even then in sim racing, I prefer to have stuff unbranded. But there's no denying that that looks pretty amazing, and I can't wait to see it in real life. Let's see how this opens. There's the top. Okay, the top slides off this. Let's put that to the side. More padding. Let's get these three smaller boxes out here. This is the wheelbase itself. Let's get the large box off to the side. So let's have a look into this wheelbase first. First thing we see is more than 25 years. There's a little Thrustmaster Club card. It's like a little member card. There's a little business card here with a QR code. Member card. I'm not sure what being a member means. There's some like really strong foam in here to protect it during shipping. We've got a box here full of adapters. So we've got our UK plug on there. So they sent a UK specific version one, which is nice. Then we have a quick release here. Here we go. Okay, this is interesting. These plates at the side are interchangeable. So if you really didn't like this, let's say you've got a bargain on this and you didn't like the Ferrari, you can change that Ferrari logo. So that's worth noting. There's some buttons on the side here. There's a stop. It looks like an emergency stop. There's like a left and right. And there is a little Thrustmaster button. At the back ports, we see what looks to be a proprietary power port, USB-C. We've got DIO and pedals. So that's probably for like shifter and handbrake and pedals, or else it's for a screen. Not sure. I don't know what this little thing is here. Maybe a fuse. Let's leave it alone until we need it. And then at the front, the quick release is a clamp system. So if we look at this, this would go in there, and then this clamps down on it, and then that's clamped in place. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It is a nice quick release, a lot better than that rotating screw. And I think this looks to be the pattern of the old steering wheels. I'm not sure if that's still needed on the new steering wheels. We'll find that out in a second. Like with all my reviews, I've not watched any videos on this product. I've kind of gone on the hope that maybe at some stage Thrustmaster will send me one. So Thrustmaster have sent me this free of charge. It's just a review unit. They don't need it back or anything, and I'm not going to sell it. That's the way I operate with my reviews, just so that you know, it eliminates bias or financial gain from the whole situation. So I don't watch other people's reviews and unboxing videos and all that. I don't learn a lot about the products before I get them, so that I can make up my own mind as a consumer. So that is the wheelbase. Let's put that off to the side slightly, and then let's have a look at this. This is arguably the part that attracts people more than the wheelbase. Take that out, and there we go. Okay, straight away, just looking at it, it looks very I'm not used to this from Thrustmaster. This automatically looks like far higher quality. I had the old Ferrari rim. It wasn't very nice. I loved the open wheel rim, and I thought that a lot of their round wheel rims and that had very good quality for what they were. I liked them, but this, straight away, the carbon fiber is jumping out at me. So we see it's got a full screen. The LEDs have slightly domed glass on them, which is, it's really nice. The buttons will give them a proper clicking in a little while. The stickers are not amazing, but they're quite similar to what you would see in a real car. And much to my delight, these seem to actually do something now. On the older model, you couldn't move these at all. It also didn't have a screen. And we've got our settings here. I'm not sure how you know exactly which setting you're on. Maybe it's the head of the horse. That would make sense. That one clicks down. Oh, they all click down. That's cool. Oh, this one doesn't. That one does. That one does. That's cool. Okay. And these buttons have a pretty nice click to them. And these rotaries are also very, very nice. They're very functional. They're not the most beautiful, you know, the quality is fine. Because they have numbers on them, I'm not sure if this is a rotary encoder or a switch. So one of them is just a kind of an up and down movement. So the input one way registers one, the input the other way registers another, whereas the other one gives you a different setting, a different input for each particular one. So that's an interesting one to see. Let's take it out of the box rather than learning all these things while it's in the box. Okay, it's a nice snug fit in there. Got a little bit of a manual in here. So, as everyone does, let's put that off to the side and go straight for the magic here. Okay, so it's not super heavy. It's lighter than a lot of the high-end wheels. Main reason is probably because this is a plastic enclosure at the back. This feels like aluminium. We've got some aluminium clutch paddles on there as well. I'm happy to see the clutch paddles. And the grips are, there's no sponge in the grips. They are quite hard, but there's a little bit of grip in them, all right. The buttons feel quite nice. They're definitely nicer than previous incarnations of the buttons. They're not super clicky. They don't have that cheap click. They have a bit of a luxurious click, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense to you. Shifters, quite noisy. And of course, it's one solid shifter piece. So yeah, they're quite noisy shifters, especially this one. It's almost like there's a little bit of like resonance in the aluminium. It's like the slightest of rattles. The downshift doesn't do it, but the upshift does. Let's see if that's annoying when we're actually using it. We've got more aluminium here and aluminium clutch paddles. Clutch paddles are quite light, but in general, it doesn't really matter too much. They're not too light, so there's a decent feel to them. And hopefully we'll see if they're, you know, as functional. Generally, they don't really vary too much. The main things that influence clutch paddles are how easy are they to calibrate, because one of the things that I'll be looking for is, can I calibrate this on the fly? Like when I'm about to go into a race, I'm like, oh crap, I'm gone back to the pits, let's do a practice start, do it in the pits because that's legal in sim racing, and adjust that bite point just to get it right for those conditions. So I like it. I think it's a nice piece of kit. Obviously you have this switch here as well. That switch stays in place, so I'm not sure if that's a constant input. We'll figure that out as we go along. And let's take this plastic off the screen here. Let's have a go at this quick release. We do need this housing around it, it seems. So let's see how this works. So this is like the old Thrustmaster connection. That goes in here. It can only go one way as far as I remember. Yeah, and then this goes on here. Is that? Oh, that's not cross-threaded here, Lawrence. Okay. So it still does have, it looks like it has space for a screw there in this part, but I don't think you need that. And this then, so the nice thing is that'll just stay in place. Let's get it good and tight on there. That'll just stay in place. And we'll grab the wheelbase, and then this should just pop in here and go like that. And that should be connected. Now it's a little bit forward heavy, but all I have to do is clamp that down and we should be good to go with that. So here we are in the rig with the Thrustmaster T818, and you can probably hear it in my voice. I'm a bit perplexed. I tried to just quickly install the drivers for this, which is usually download the software, load it up, detects the wheel, and go. And man, I had such a, jeez, it felt like going back 10, 15 years. Like I went and got the driver, the web page doesn't look great. It's like red text on yellow, which is, that's fine. You get over that. And I downloaded it, installed it, and then after the install, there was no Thrustmaster app. Now I got some instructions on how to install it and stuff. There's no Thrustmaster app. It's like, what the hell? Then I had to go and update the firmware, which involves some complicated boot procedure, and then you have to update the firmware of the base. This is a brand new base. And like, I can only imagine if this was someone's first experience, and if they're not super technical, they're buying a Thrustmaster because, you know, they just work. They're quite simple. I'm like, I'm a software developer. Like, this shouldn't be complicated. I had to ask on the owners group, you know, how do you do this? And someone said, do this and do that. And that didn't do it either. So installing the firmware, I really hope that over time that gets better, because that was a pain in the butt. Let's turn it on here. Got good noises coming on. I did notice one funny thing. And I don't know if any of you have these or have used one, might have noticed this, but if we do turn it off, and there's nothing on the wheel, the weight of the wheel makes it kind of flop like this. So if you were to finish racing and turn off your wheelbase, it'll just like flop. Now that wheel doesn't, like, it's not a heavy wheel at all. It's just that there's zero resistance on the motor, which is very interesting. This is the quick release. So you guys can see here, probably better. This is the old school kind of turny-on piece. That turns onto the screwed part. Tighten that as much as possible. Then this clicks straight in here. And then this goes down. Now, when the wheelbase was off the rig, I was able to swing that around the place. On the rig here, I can notice, and you guys can probably see there, I can notice quite some flex. Now, and I would be afraid to pull that too much, because I would be afraid that would crack. Whether that is actually an issue while I'm driving, I'm not sure. But people have expressed concern about the quick release. And so it's not really, when I use two fingers, no problem. When I'm doing putting lots of weight on it. So I will definitely not be, you know, using the steering wheel to get out of the rig or anything like that. Let's get it turned on again. It does its little old school calibration thing, which a lot of new direct drive wheels just don't do. There's no need for calibration as such. So what you need to do is you need to go into your game controllers, or the easiest way to do it is to run joy.cpl. Then that should show you your game controllers, and the Thrustmaster game controller is there. You double click that, and this is where you do your bits and pieces, set the wheel position and all that. It seems mad that this is how you do it and that there's no dedicated Thrustmaster software. And I don't know how this screen is going to work at all. I have no idea how that's going to work. The hat is here. It's detecting buttons. It's detecting rotaries. Oh, there we go. When I click on this, my screen turns on. Don't know how to control that screen, but we will see how that all works. And the clutch axes are here as well. So as I'm setting this up here, I've noticed that if you move this left dial, it shows different things up on the screen. So we've got some different screens. Basic, RPM. We'll see how that all works, if that all works, because the software, mentally, it just seems incomplete. It's not giving me any, screen layouts or whatever. Maybe you can't change screen layouts. I don't know. But let's jump in game and see what happens. The buttons are all pre-stickered, so you don't get a say in that, which I kind of like, to be honest. And I don't necessarily mind that this button says drink when it obviously doesn't work like that. Some people prefer to change them, but I like them just being there and not having to really think about it. I'll be surprised if the rev lights and everything works when I drive. I did quickly map my controls, but I'll be very surprised to see. So this dial is specifically for, okay, we've got Wi-Fi here. Interesting. I click that in. Wi-Fi. Should have probably researched that. Okay, Wi-Fi is on now. So the screen has Wi-Fi. What else does it have? Okay, you can set the brightness. I can't seem to go down and do that right now. You can set your metric, imperial, custom. Not very intuitive, to be honest. Yeah, not very intuitive. Don't know how to get out of this. Okay, that gets back out of it. Alright, so yeah, okay, rotation is set to 360. Let's just set the rotation to, I think 900 is what my game is set to. There we go. That's a little bit better. And right now, it feels like there's... Oh yeah, there is a little bit of force feedback. Can I up that force feedback? Overall strength. Not allowing me to do it more than 70%. Why is that locked? Risk of injury. Okay. Set that to 100. Okay, I feel a bit more now. Let's just give it a go. Default settings. This car, of course, is super lively. Alright, getting some detailed forces here. Yeah, definitely getting some detail. Not a tremendous amount of force, but the details are quite smooth right now. Obviously, I haven't tweaked anything on the force feedback, but it's working. And I have set it to 100. It's set at 100 in-game as well, so it's 100% gain in-game as well. Very clear details. So that's... It's oh, that's just my bad driving. But it's definitely giving me super clear details. There's nothing happening on the screen. There must be some other software ping that I'm missing to get this screen working. Surely there is. I'm gonna have to check that manual. But it's like it seems so difficult to set this up. Like, these are... Oh, jeez. Maybe I do need a bit of damper. These are You know, these are expensive products. Properties. Oh, I just hit that back to default. I did. That happens quite easily. Now the damper's was already at 20%. Okay, I'm guessing a lot of damper will take that out. No, it doesn't seem to. Even a very high damper bouncing around the place. Oh Jesus, that's gonna break my hands. I don't know how to sort that. You just seem so limited. There are a couple of sliders here. I feel like I'm missing something massive, and I just don't get it. I need to pause. I need to pause and see where the rest of my software is, because I don't understand how I'm supposed to get this screen even working. Nothing is reacting right now. So it seems like to update the firmware of this wheel, I need to undo the bolts that are here. See these 4 bolts? There's one here, one here, down here as well. There are 4 bolts that I have to undo because there's a USB-C port behind that. This is a lot of work for a brand new steering wheel that I would have been like super excited about. I'm having to do all this work just to get it working. It's a lot of work. I just feel like it's poor. It's a poor user experience. Yeah, I'm not happy about it so far. It's not nice. This is the update manual, and it shows how to do that. Need to use Allen keys, and yeah, it's just I can't. I don't know. Right now I'm not enjoying this. Force feedback details were nice, but having to go to so much effort. So now it's an €1,100 product. That's probably for most people is going to be the most expensive sim racing hardware product they've ever bought. This is just not a nice experience. So it's a mixed bag. It's a lovely looking product. The wheelbase is quite big, but it looks nice. The quick release, while driving, I didn't have any issues. I don't think it has, it doesn't have any impact. So while you can swing off the steering wheel and get significant play in the steering wheel, it's not something that affects you while driving. So I don't think that should be a deal breaker. For a lot of people it is. They want that rock solid quick release. But sit into a real car, sit into a real race car, there's loads of play. So don't worry about that. And I put it through its paces here with a car that relies on extremely just accurate force feedback. And it had that. It had accurate force feedback. So the wheelbase gets a thumbs up from me so far from my first impressions. The steering wheel itself, the lack of compatibility is really throwing me at the moment. It kind of sucks. The firmware, software, geez, something really needs to be done about that. I thought that the software just wasn't installing when I first installed it. It needs to be more intuitive. You shouldn't have to read and study a manual just to be able to install something, that you spent $1,100 on, that just arrived. You want to plug it in, and it took me 2 hours. Now call me an idiot in the comments, and maybe it worked fine for you guys, but it hasn't worked fine for me. And that was a really kind of an abrasive experience. So I didn't enjoy that. But the wheelbase itself is nice. I'm going to do a long-term review on it. That means I'm going to have it on my streams. I'm going to have it long-term on the rig. Gonna try and enjoy it for what it is right now, and see if I can get the screen working with Assetto Corsa and all those things. If they're even possible. You guys might know more than I do, because one of the reasons that I'm relatively uninformed about this is because I try to steer clear of other people's reviews because I don't want my opinion being tainted or influenced by those people. I don't want to just be regurgitating things that they say, even if I notice the same things. I want it to be all my own thoughts. And if I miss things, they may be insignificant or they may appear in my long-term review. So it's now about 24 hours after I recorded my initial first impressions. I have spent a little bit more time with it because I felt that it was only fair. The issue that I had with the software, with the icons aren't appearing, it's still happening for me, and I don't know why. I've uninstalled, reinstalled many times. Could be an issue on my PC alone though, because apparently not a lot of people have that issue. In fact, I've not found anybody else who's found that issue, so I'm going to write that one off as being completely isolated. Usually there's a little Thrustmaster control panel in your start menu, but I just don't have it. When I search for it, it's just not there. So that's one thing. Second thing, the screen compatibility. On iRacing, it was showing my speed, showing my gear. The LED rev lights seemed pretty okay. I didn't really have to tweak them. The only thing is it didn't give me tire telemetry and stuff in iRacing. And in ACC, it seems to give the tire temperatures and all that quite well. So far so good. Again, I haven't spent a tremendous amount of time with it, but I have spent more time with it than I usually do in a first impressions video because I thought it was only fair. Back to the main video. So I always do a first impressions video like this and a longer term review. So if you have any questions and things that you'd like to see in the long term review, do ask in the comments. I will be streaming every Tuesday and Thursday with this wheel as well. So at any stage, give me a shout. Let me know what you want to know about it. And for now, I'm Lawrence, and I'll chat to you later.